We are back. This Safety and a Sportswriter show with Knoxville Nate and Big Joe as we come to you on a Sunday evening to talk to you about the world of sports. A lot of, what we were just talking about, a little breaking news going on, which looks to be the end of an era in college football. We got the announcement of a new NBA tournament I want to go over, which makes no sense to me. We could talk about a little Kyrie Irving found a new home or found somebody who was willing to give him a place to stay, which I still can't believe. And the rest of what's going on in the NBA and the NFL and a little college football mixed in. How you doing, Nate? Happy birthday weekend.
Thank you, buddy. I'm doing great. A lot of sports broke today, so that worked out fabulously for our show. Not so great for your boy Pat Fitzgerald and your school, Northwestern. What did you think about when you heard it? You're a big fan of that coach, and you're a big fan of that school. So what did you think when you heard about this?
Major flashback for me. It was like when the Joe Paterno controversy happened. And you watch these guys, Joe Paterno, for a longer period than Pat. But I remember Pat Fitzgerald when he was a player at Northwestern. And he helped lead him to the Rose Bowl for the first time in 20 years or so when he was a player there. Yep. He always seemed to be an above board person. There's part of me that hopes that somewhere down the line he'll explain and maybe he can. I don't know how you explain it. I mean, if you read the article, what these freshmen were put through is something you would think you'd think they were in prison. That's how convicts treat each other, not football players. And it was disgusting.
I didn't even hear all the reports. I mean, don't go into the gross details, but what kind of what kind of stuff went on?
Almost sexual deviant behavior. I'm not going to go into the specifics of it, but I mean, they made the guy strip down and then they pretended like they were doing sexual acts on him and stuff.
Oh, wow. That's ridiculous.
So it was, there was nothing forgivable about it. I mean, you were reading it. Why don't you read what the president of the university said? So
yeah, I mean, this is why we were just talking about a minute ago that the president of the university, Michael Schill has come out and said that he'd made a mistake in the penalty. As some of you may not know, Coach Fitzgerald has been suspended for 2 weeks without pay, but it's going to be a lot worse. He's going to get fired because the president just came out and stated that he had made a mistake. And that, he says, in determining an appropriate penalty for the head coach, I focused too much on what the report concluded he didn't know and not enough on what he said what he should have known, Schill wrote. As the head coach of one of our athletic programs, Coach Fitzgerald is not only responsible for what happens within the program, but he also must take great care to uphold our institutional commitment to the student experience. Clearly, he failed to uphold that commitment, and I failed to sufficiently consider that failure in levying a sanction. So that means more is coming. That means to me that Coach Fitzgerald is going to get fired. I think it'll probably happen today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious by that statement when he said that he the last sentence says it all. Yeah, and without coming right out and saying it, he right now probably. They got the lawyers out and they're talking about how to pay off the contract or if he was whatever. That's what they're working on right now. I don't think his future is there at all. And that opens up, and not to get back to sports of this, but let's face facts. Pat Fitzgerald has been the most successful coach Northwestern's had probably in their history since Ara Parsegian in the 60s. I mean, they were a doormat of the Big Ten for years, with people wondering if they should even be in that league. And he at least, he got them into a program it usually was in a cycle. It usually took about 3 or 4 years to get them competitive. But this job's going to open up, and I don't see a lot of suitors for it either. I don't know where they're going to go.
Yeah, no, I can't think of anyone who, off the top of my head, would want this job, especially right now. just based on what's happened. But someone will take it. It depends on, who's available and how much they're willing to spend and all that. But when you look back in their history, Gary Barnett had a really
I forgot
good.
Gary Barnett.
Gary Barnett had a really good, span as the coach there. I think he was, he coached he was like 35 and 45, which is pretty decent there. And then Randy Walker was the coach, from 99 to 2005. Both those guys did all right and had good spins, but nothing like Fitzgerald. Pat, he's been the coach there for since 2006. He's 110 and 101, which is amazing to be at that school in that conference and recruiting like they do. That's why it kind of goes in cycles. He has to get guys that other teams wouldn't get, and then he has to bet on them. He has to develop them. He has to hope that they develop like he thinks they will, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But he is certainly one of the best football coaches that I've seen. And from what all I've heard, I've met Fitz a couple of times. I'm not friends with him, but some of my friends are friends with him, and they love him. All of them love that guy and have nothing but great things to say about him. But this isn't good.
No, it's not good at all. And the thing was, he was such a good story. He was at his alma mater. I mean, many teams supposedly pursued him. Even Notre Dame was rumored to been, he was on their short list because he had been so successful at a university which, quote unquote, is a great academic school as well. And he would have suited all the things they want their coach to be. But you'd like to. I mean, I forgot. I'd love to hear if something was wrong in this, and but I don't see. It sounds when reading the article that it's been going on for a long period of time, and there's no way he didn't know something about what was going on. So,
well, if he didn't know, then that's a problem. He should have known. He should have known. You should be. In tune with what's going. You have to know things like this. You have to have guys on the team that you're closer with than others that tell you what's going on. As the head coach, you have to know everything about the program, because anything happens that's against regulations, it comes back to you, and you're making. I forget what Pat makes, but I know it's over $5 million.
Yeah.
I mean, he's making millions and millions of dollars, and it's his job to know everything about his program. And if there's something going on that shouldn't be going on, he should find out about it and he should fix it and turn it around right away. And he obviously didn't do that. So he was either negligent to the point of misconduct, or he was performing misconduct by knowing about it and not doing anything. So either way, it's not good, and he's going to get fired. It's just a matter of when, not a matter of if.
I totally agree, and not to switch gears on you right now, but your buddy Coach Day over at Ohio State, and he's done nothing wrong, but your friend Paul Feinbaum was trying to put him on the hot seat the other day. I hear. I was reading it, or he was saying how.
I don't listen to Paul Feinbaum. First off, I hate him. He's an SEC homer. He's also never played football and really knows nothing about it. So I don't know why he gets paid to talk about it. But Ryan Day is a fabulous coach. If he got fired today, unless it's something bad. If he let's say Ohio State's like, we're done with him, he would get hired in 10 minutes. He has pressure to win every single game, every single weekend. If they are losing inside of a game, it's a big deal. Nobody cares about the Buckeyes unless like they're down by 7. And then all of a sudden everybody tunes in and wants to know about it. So, unbelievable pressure, and there's no hot seat. The guy's taken he's been the coach for 4 years. They've been to the national championship or the semifinals 2 of those 4 years. The other 2 years they missed out, by 1 game. So there's no hot seat. I mean, I think people want him to beat Michigan. There's no doubt about that. He needs to win that game, but he knows that more than anyone.
How are they looking coming into this season, Ohio State, compared to in the past?
Well, obviously, you didn't watch our man coverage special with Mark Givler.
No, I didn't. I
From
didn't watch
Buckeye
that.
Huddle. Everyone should tune into it. We've had about 2,500 views on YouTube and about 10,000 downloads. So it was a pretty good show. But yeah, we break down the team in there, from top to bottom, and the team looks great. They're going to have another really good season. The defense is much improved. Year 2 in Jim Knowles. And they've got talent all over like they always do. The only thing that concerns me at all is the offensive line, and that's Mark Givler from Buckeye Huddle says the same thing as I did. That's my one concern. I mean, they lost 2 years ago. They lost Nicholas Petit-Free, who was their left tackle. He starts for the Titans now, except he's suspended for gambling. But before he got suspended for gambling, he was starting for the Titans as a rookie. And then, this year, Paris Johnson Jr. got drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. I think he was, number 5 overall, number 6? He was 5 or 6 overall. And then DeJuan Jones, the 6'9", 370-pound right tackle, got drafted by the Browns. So three All-American tackles gone in the span of a year and a half. It's going to affect anybody, and it's going to affect the Buckeyes. The good news is they're 5 deep at running back. They're about 9 deep at wide receiver. If these guys can give them any time to throw it, they'll be fine. The other question mark is quarterback, obviously. Talking about the 2 guys kind of battling it out. I think I know who's going to win that, and I think I know who will be the quarterback. I think it'll be Kyle McCord, but you never know. There still is an open competition, and we'll have to figure out who is going to be the quarterback in 2023 when things kick off, because I think that Kyle McCord and I'm drawing a blank. The other kid are gonna battle it out, through camp. But I definitely think that McCord and Devin Brown is the other kid who has a chance to be the starter. But Devin Brown was injured all spring, so I think that gave Kyle McCord a heads up. And Kyle McCord was the high school quarterback of Marvin Harrison Jr. From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So those 2 guys already played with each other. And obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the number 1 wide receiver in the country.
How about Penn State this year?
Penn State is a team that worries me dramatically, because when you think about Penn State the last few years, their defense solid, skill position guys pretty solid. For whatever reason, Sean Clifford was not able to win the big games. And
right.
They feel like, I think that Penn State feels like they have an upgrade right now at quarterback. And they think they have this kid who, played last year and was, okay, but he got on the field as a freshman, and Drew Aller is his name. He was a huge recruit. He's from Ohio, actually, from Medina High School. Shout out to Medina. That's my buddy Greeley's high school. But he, he was one of the top. He was Mr. Ohio in the state of Ohio, and he was a tremendous high school football player, throwing for almost 4,500 yards and 48 touchdowns his senior season. So he's the real deal. He looked good at times, showed flashes last year. And I think, Penn State is a pretty popular pick to make the college football playoff. And I think they're going to give Ohio State and Michigan a run for their money.
How about the changes in Nebraska? Is Nebraska finally going to make some kind of noise?
Not this year. I mean, I know that this guy, Matt Rule, is famous for turning programs around quickly.
Right.
But let's be honest, this program is in the dumpster and has been for the last few years. And there's no way he's going to be able to. I mean, with the transfer portal, with the NIL money that Nebraska does have access to, I think they'll be able to turn it around pretty quick. I think he will win. He'll turn the program back into a winning program. But I don't think this is the year. I mean, they don't have the personnel, in my opinion, to get back where they need to be to compete with with Ohio State, with Penn State, even with teams like Iowa and things like that. I don't know if they're ready to compete with them. They did pick up Jeff Sims, the quarterback in the transfer portal who was at Georgia Tech last year. But Jeff Sims is he does run that offense that Matt Rule ran at Temple and also ran at Baylor. He's a quarterback that kind of fits that mold, but he's not a guy that can lead you to a college football playoff. I mean, I'm just being honest. He's not a January 1st bowl guy. If they win 7 games, it'll be a big time improvement for the program, and I think it'll show that they're heading the right direction.
Well, I think they have to. I mean, because they have not been able to compete since they got to the Big Ten. I still think that was a colossal bad move by them. Although, unfortunately, everybody's going there anyway, so it doesn't matter. That once proud Big 12 no longer exists. So
no, and nor does the Pac-12 really. And that's what's amazing about we talk about Penn State, and we talk about their coach, who is, in my opinion, James Franklin is one of the best coaches in college football. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't really like the guy that much, but I'm just being honest. I mean, the guy won at Vanderbilt. Okay, if you can go to Vanderbilt and win 8, 9, 10 games, I'm sorry, but you're a freaking phenomenal football coach, and I'm cleaning that up in case there's children watching, because he's a effing amazing coach. When you think about the Big Ten right now, you got Fickle up in Wisconsin, you got Matt Rule at Nebraska, you've got what's going on at Minnesota with PJ Fleck, you've got the coach at Illinois, the guy Brett Bielema, who used to be at Wisconsin. I mean, with the guys coming in next year from USC and the coaching staff that they have there, and UCLA with Chip Kelly. I mean, Lincoln Riley, Chip Kelly. It's going to be, in my opinion, the best assortment of college football coaches of any conference next year when those two teams join.
And back to, we don't know who will be at Northwestern, but I guess maybe that'll attract a good coach. The fact that the best of the best are there, and he can prove himself if he can compete with them, it would be nice to see. I'd hate to see that program go back to the way it was years ago when they were a doormat and getting stepped all over.
Well, they've got the money. They've got the Big Ten contract money. The TV money. They've got the they had 2 teams in the college football playoff this year. That's $13 million to each school. So they've got money to go out and get somebody. It's just the timing of it. Most teams have already every team has already filled what coaches are out there right now that are available. That's the problem that Northwestern's going to run into right now, and why I think they'll probably, if they're smart, they'll just do an interim coach kind of thing. Somebody maybe who's kind of involved in the program, but not one of the guys involved with what's going on, or may have to bring somebody in.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to find.
That's what I'm saying. They might have to bring somebody in because I think everybody that's there right now might be too close to this. But it's going to be very hard to find a full coaching staff right now. This season may be a wash.
Yeah, it probably is. Next thing I want to switch over, we're going to go to the NBA. Have you examined this new NBA in-season tournament there? You're the big NBA guy, and now they're going to have an in-season tournament.
I have looked at it. I'm not sure really what, I'm kind of confused by it, but basically they're creating this thing called the NBA Cup, and the champion of the Cup will get a trophy on December 9th, giving the winning team of the 30-team competition not only the trophy, but every player on the team will get $500,000.
Like basically, they need that.
Yeah, well, they don't need money. Most of these guys do not. But the thing about it is, they're trying to make the regular season watchable. Okay, I can't get mad at the NBA for trying to improve their product. And that's what I think they're doing here. They're trying to make it so that each game, even in the middle of the season or, before playoff time, there'll be games that will mean something, like whether or not you get to the next round of this pool play, or it's basically like soccer, like the Champions League overseas. That's kind of how they do it during their regular season, to try and make games meaningful. And I think that's what the NBA is trying to do with the load management, with the fact that they play way too many games in 80, what is it, 82 games?
Yeah, but they're adding games to it.
It's too much. But I think what they're trying to do with the pool play and the tournament and the NBA Cup is make it something that is watchable, make it better, make the regular season, change the format up. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I do give them credit for trying to make the season better, because watching regular season NBA the last couple of years has been tough to do.
But they keep expanding the playoffs, which makes the regular season insignificant, and with the load management, now the load management is going to be even further down the line. So people aren't going to go out and spend, $350 on a seat at the top of Madison Square Garden when LeBron comes in if LeBron's not playing. I mean, I just don't understand how this doesn't just dilute the product more than it enhances the product. The problem with watching NBA basketball, like you said.
But I mean, leaving it how it is, how does that make it better? I mean, it's been horrible the last couple of. The last few years. How many regular season NBA games have you watched?
I think I don't usually tune in. I watch more NHL.
That's what I'm saying.
But the thing is that I think the problem with the NBA now isn't. It's the fact of the matter is there's only a handful of players that people want to see, and maybe even less than that. Maybe if Zion Williamson suddenly becomes healthy for 81 games or for 75 games, and he puts up the stats, people will tune in. Maybe if John Morant doesn't blow up, I think the bigger problem is you're losing the young stars that have to come in and start repopulating the NBA fan base, buying their jerseys and stuff. Because the fact of the matter is, they were lucky. You had Magic, you had Bird. That begot Jordan. Then you had Isaiah. Then you had Shaq. Then you had Kobe. Then you had LeBron. But along that way, too, you had Tim Duncan. You had Patrick Ewing. You had
what is your point? You're saying that the NBA was better in the past?
I'm saying it had star power that people wanted to see, where now you don't seem to have that anymore. You don't have those players that brought you out to the game to see them do it.
I think there's still players that are bringing people in. I mean, the NBA is not losing money. I don't know if you're paying attention to these contracts that these guys are getting.
I've been attention to all the contracts that aren't worth. They're not worth. I mean, I don't know how they make the money on this, but
they're making the money. I mean, people are watching. People are buying jerseys. People are buying cards. People are buying autographs. People are buying tickets. People are buying the NBA package. People are buying this product, and I don't. Do I think it's better than before? No, not really. I think the basketball was better, in the previous eras. But Nikola Jokic is a hell of a basketball player. Anthony Davis, Giannis has won championships. Steph Curry and the Klay Thompson, the guys on the Warriors, have won several championships. You got the kid in Dallas, who people like to go watch and think is very exciting. You got Trae Young in Atlanta. You got Anthony Edwards, who's a budding star in Minnesota. He averaged over almost 32 points a game. You still got Kawhi and Paul George and the Clippers. You got Booker and Durant and the rest of the squad in Phoenix. I mean, LeBron's going to play one more year. You got the MVP Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. There's still some pretty solid basketball players. There's still talent. People are watching it. Jason Tatum and the crew up in Boston have won games.
Well, if they're watching it, why do they have to enhance the regular season if they're watching it?
Well, they're watching it. I'm just saying that I don't like the regular season. I think there's too many games that make it so there's not a whole lot of emphasis on winning every particular night. in my opinion, because there's too many games. Now, I understand they're adding games, but they're trying to make it so that the game means something as far as, what they're trying to do. I don't know if I agree with this. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it will make it better, but I think they are trying to improve it. I think this guy that got drafted number 1 overall from France, Victor Wembanyama, is supposed to be pretty solid. The kid that got picked number 2, Brandon Miller, he was a lights out player at Alabama last year. So there is talent coming into the league. They're just the new stars have to develop and merge with these existing guys. And I just know that I'm watching these guys every night getting millions. I mean, Grant Williams is getting millions and millions of dollars to go, to go to a different team. He got signed away. He was already making $54 million, and now he's making more money to go to Dallas. And this is a guy that's like a 6th man, maybe a 7th man off the bench.
But how many guys? I'm okay. You're an NBA devotee. I am not an NBA devotee. I would rather watch the NHL, but I will watch when I see superstars that I want to see play. Okay, now you talked about the millions they're making, and yeah, all those sports contracts are going up. They're all going up astronomically. So I think that's a trend of our time with the way we're paying our athletes. But how many of these guys are making an impact on Madison Avenue? When Michael and Magic and Bird, and they were a tool of the NBA because they were on Madison Avenue as well as on the court. They were selling products. They were out front being spokespeople for what of these young guys coming in. What are the ones are being put on to sell products and be have their own shoe and stuff like that? How many of those guys you see?
I mean, they're coming, man. I mean, they've all got their own shoes these days, but right now it's still LeBron's world and we're all still just living in it. But, that's the thing is who's going to take LeBron's, reign. I mean, he's the king, dude. I mean, he's worth $1 billion. So you can't say like it's fallen off and there's no one out there.
It's him. It's him, but nobody else.
It's him. And then, somebody else is going to have to take it.
I mean, the only one close for selling products on Madison Avenue would be Steph Curry, I think.
Steph Curry is making a lot of money off the court. The problem is a lot of these guys now, like Nikola Jokic from Denver, and then also, the other kid that I mentioned, from Dallas, they're foreign born. And so it's tough to get people to fall in love with these guys that are from another country. They didn't see them play. In college, they didn't see him play, a lot of them in high school here. So, it's kind of like, who are these guys? But there's still dudes that are very, very popular right now. You got Jimmy Butler, who's made 2 finals in the last 4 years. And I think he's a pretty popular player at the moment, making a lot of money and also, being plastered on things. Jason Tatum has a huge contract with Sprite and a couple of other big, huge companies and obviously the shoe contracts. Zion is a guy, too, that, when he's played recently, as we've talked about, he's very marketable. They just need him to go nuts. Joel Embiid is kind of different because he's just not – he's kind of soft-spoken. He's kind of a, basketball or bust kind of guy. He doesn't really – he's more of, I'd say, Kawhi Leonard than he is LeBron James as far as the public eye goes. But, Trae Young is in a lot of ads. Kevin Durant still gets paid to be in stuff. There's still some faces. It's just who's going to be that next guy that takes over for LeBron. That I don't think they know, and they're trying to figure that out and see who that is. But they've already figured out who it is on the court. I mean, it's Jokic. I mean, he is the best player in the NBA right now. It's just he's kind of a tough guy to market.
But that's the problem. Is like, if you want to get a borderline fan and you got to give me something, I guess the personality would pull me in a little bit more. And then the other thing that bothers me is with this tournament, are we going to see more load management stuff going on? Maybe in the regular season games, they're sitting out more because of this. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you that. I don't know whether or not it'll increase it, or I think it's supposed to decrease it. But I don't know. I don't know what it'll do to that. But I can tell you that LeBron James just isn't going to play 82 games anymore.
No.
He's not going to. Some of these guys, most of these guys do not play that many games. They don't play the full season, but they do play a lot of games. I mean, you're going to have the occasion where somebody buys a ticket and they go to watch Kawhi Leonard and he's not playing that night, or they go to watch LeBron and he's not playing. But that's kind of the risk you take. You probably want to find out whether or not your boy's going to play before you buy your tickets. That's why I use StubHub, brother.
But like I said, we'll see what happens. There's no way for me to stop it. I look at it as a stunt, a ploy. Maybe they need to do it. I don't know. But to me, it's like when you're worried about how many games a season is, to add more games to it. I think the thing about it's like all sports. It's like in baseball now. How many wild cards do you really need? I mean, either you do it or you don't do it. I mean, it sometimes it's like, I mean, I love the romanticism of seeing a team like Miami did this year, from 8th seed to the finals. But did they really deserve to be in the playoffs? I mean, they did everything right, but they took out the Bucks. They took out teams that maybe would have made for a better final. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the argument against people saying that there's too many teams making the playoffs, or the playoffs are too expanded. Well, if a team like the Heat can be the 8th seed and be playing in the play-in tournament, win the play-in tournament, and then knock off the number 1 seed, well, then I think you have to include those teams. That means they have a chance. That this team went all the way to the finals. I mean, I don't give a shit if people want to watch them or not. I mean, if you like the NBA, you're going to watch the teams that are in the finals. I don't know how many more people watch the Bucks than watch the Heat. The Heat has a rich tradition. They've got some superstars in Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. The Heat is a much bigger market team than Milwaukee is. For sure. I mean, is Milwaukee a better team? I don't know. I mean, they were better during the regular season, but you don't win a championship for winning the regular season until now.
Yeah, you see, it's the same thing. And I agree with you. It's like the same thing you hear at NCAA tournament time. Everybody likes the upsets in the first week. They love it. Everybody's jumping up and down the upset. But then when that team makes it to the second weekend, everybody's like, can we get the guys back? Because we want to see a better final. It's weird. We root for the underdogs, and then when we get what we want, we get pissed.
Yeah, you can't really have it both ways. Like either you want the Cinderella story or you don't.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of how it works. I mean, trust me, I was so mad when I saw that Duke was playing Tennessee in the second round. I'm like, shit, one of my teams is definitely going to lose. So I was pissed about that. But that if you're good enough, you win, man. If you're a good enough team, you'll win. You'll get hot at the right time and you'll win your games. But think about it. The Lakers too. That's another team that made it to the Western Conference Finals, and people were saying they weren't good enough to be a playoff team and maybe shouldn't have been in it and whatever. But obviously they were, and now they're keeping a lot. They were able to keep a lot of those components and bring them back, which I think will make that team better next year.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit with the NBA to free agency. Harden still doesn't have a home. But Kyrie Irving is staying in Dallas. How did Mark Cuban ever make his money?
I don't know. It's just how it works, man. Sometimes you don't have to be the smartest guy in the world to be the richest. These guys, they get hooked up. They have either a good idea or they get, have the idea at the right time, like broadcast.com, which he sold for to make his billions of dollars. That I don't know whether that makes him a really smart man, because let's be honest, the Mavericks have been a joke the last several years. And, what's he come out with next? I mean, I know he's on the Shark Tank, but that really wasn't his idea. I don't know. He's not really the greatest owner. I know he won a championship. He got one with Dirk Nowitzki.
One.
Yeah, and they put together a pretty decent team that year. But I don't know what he's doing with this. I'm not sure what he thinks. He thinks he's going to win a championship with Kyrie Irving as the number two. I don't see that.
And the thing about it is, when you think about it, Dirk Nowitzki was one of the best players in the NBA for like 20 years. He won one championship. I mean, it's not a black mark on him. It's a black mark on the team that was never around him. He should have had two or three.
Yeah, no, I think he was definitely good enough to win more than one title. That's for sure. I mean, I'm not really, certain what the deal was out there for several years, but they just had to put some guys around him, and they never seemed to be able to do that. They tried with Steve Nash, but then ended up letting him go, and I don't know. But the thing is, I'm looking at what they're doing right now, and giving $120 million guaranteed to Kyrie Irving. I just don't. I mean, we've seen what's happened. We saw what happened in Cleveland. We saw what happened in Boston. He made the Celtics worse. Then he went to the Nets and made them worse. And now you're giving him $126 million, 120 guaranteed. I don't know.
And it's like they always call it, the definition of insanity. He's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Every team has given him more and more money, expecting him to suddenly go, wow, these guys really want me here. I should really try and be a leader, try and help them win. And why would he? He keeps getting it anyways.
Yeah, well, he only played in 20 games last year, and he averaged 27 points. I mean, he always going to score points. But what did they do? They didn't even make the playoffs, man. I mean, they couldn't even make the play-in tournament. I mean, if you can't make the play-in tournament with two max contract guys and Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, then something's wrong with your team.
And how about James Harden? Is he going to find a new home or what?
I don't know. I got to be honest. I mean, James Harden's the one guy that got out of town in Brooklyn and went to Philly, and honestly, he played well there. They did well throughout the regular season. He worked well as kind of a second fiddle, sidekick guy to Embiid. They played all right in the playoffs. I know they ended up losing a little bit earlier than they wanted to, in the Eastern semis. But I have to be honest, I'm not a big James Harden fan about him personally or honestly his game. But I got to give him credit for what he did in Philly. I thought he stepped up and played pretty well. And I don't think he was the reason that they lost.
But he is getting older. I mean, what's he, 35 now?
I think we looked at that. I'm trying to remember how old he is. I think he is around 34, I believe. Let me double check because I can't remember exactly how old he is. But I know that, he's 33.
Okay. So
he'll be 34 when the season starts.
Okay. So, I mean, how many more years does he have left to get he's not going to want just a 1-year contract. He's going to want a couple of years. He's going to want probably 3 years. He's probably going to want Kyrie money. Where's a team he could go to that would give him that kind of money and have a slot for him to start? He's kind of, he reminds me of right now. He reminds me of Carmelo Anthony at the end of his career, when Carmelo kept having to search for teams that would take him on because he wasn't going to come cheap, but he also didn't want to go play for a crappy team where he had no chance of winning. So he had to specifically shop himself around and find teams willing to pick up his contract at his level.
Yeah, well, he played pretty well for the Trailblazers there for a couple of seasons and closed out his career pretty good with knowing his role and playing that role. So I'll give Carmelo credit for that. James Harden, I think, has a little bit left in the tank as opposed to Melo, just based on his game. And Melo was kind of an athletic guy that took balls to the rim and went to the basket and created his shot off the dribble. Sometimes, I mean, James Harden's a spot up shooter most of the time.
Right.
He runs that pick and roll game, or at least he did with Embiid, and is good at that. But he's a spot shooter. He's a scorer, and he can still do that. He can still score the basketball, and he can run the point for somebody as kind of a point forward kind of guy, shooting guard, point guard kind of dude. So he's going to go to a team, and the team is the thing is what team, and I'm not 100% sure about that. He picked up. He signed his option deal with the Sixers, so technically he's on the Sixers right now. But they're gonna do a sign and trade deal with him. Just depends on what team has the most interest, and I'm not sure who that is right now. I know that a lot of people thought he was going back to Houston, and apparently that is not going to happen. So I'm not 100% where he ends up.
And I just going to bring this up because it was when I was driving around this morning, I was listening to sports talk radio in this area, and they were talking about the Knicks, and they're still talking about how to get Paul George to town, and I don't see where Paul George fits in the Knicks' future, because first of all, he's another one. He's going to want a contract. He's not going to want to come here and not make money, and I don't know what he's got left.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, maybe he could help the Knicks, honestly, being a guy that's kind of a leader, kind of a veteran, kind of a guy that comes in like Derrick Rose did a couple years ago and is more of a veteran, kind of off the bench kind of dude. But I just, I don't see how he would help the Knicks in that way. From what I've heard is that he's either going to end up back at the Clippers or potentially on the Warriors is what I've heard.
Those would be better places for him, I think. I mean, I think the Knicks are heading in the right direction. Do they need a bona fide superstar if they could get it? Yeah, but I think that's more New York wanting a bona fide superstar. I think, with the draft capital they have, keep this team together how it's constituted right now. And then with the draft capital you have, start filling in the blanks when teams are looking to get rid of people during the season. I don't think there's any hurry right now for the Knicks to go out and make a major move unless it falls into their lap. And, around here, the worst thing about being in the shadow of New York City is they always think the superstar wants to come here. And it's not always true. Taxes are higher. They're under a unique spotlight that a lot of them don't want. And they're going to get killed 24/7 on sports talk radio around here if they do come up short. So we as fans around here chase a lot of the good players away from this area.
I wouldn't want to play for the Knicks. I mean, Julius Randle's come in there and done everything he possibly can to try and make the team better. And a lot of people in New York want his ass gone. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to go there.
They booed Patrick Ewing, for God's sake.
Yeah. But they did get Dante DiVincenzo, who I think is a big time player. He to me is a Thibodeau guy. He's a big time energy guy. He's an effort guy. He's a defender. He comes in off the bench and really picks up the game. They got Trevor Keels in year 2 from Duke. They got Josh Hart back. Dwayne Washington Jr. they picked up. Manuel Quickly still on the roster. Quentin Grimes, Jalen Brunson.
They got a lot of nice young players. I think they're good. Exactly. You got a lot of 23 to 28-year-olds that want to play in the Garden, are used to playing in the Garden, and they made it to the second round of playoffs last year. For God's sake, they're headed in the right direction. Why did we have to make wholesale changes? Why do you think, selling off a couple of young players, an RJ Barrett, to bring back a superstar is going to work? There's such a thing known as chemistry in sports. And you F with the chemistry, you can blow up the whole thing. So
no, I think they're in good shape right now. I like what they have with their team intact. Mitchell Robinson finally was a little bit healthy. If he can just be healthy, he can help this team a lot. And I think, health is a key component with this team and getting the young guys to come around and live up to their potential. But I certainly think they're doing a good job building this team. I love the addition of Dwayne Washington. Like I said, the addition of DiVincenzo. I like those additions. I love Emmanuel Quickly. I like RJ Barrett. Jalen Brunson's a badass. Julius Randle's gonna come back and play well. So I like what they're doing there.
All you have to do is look across the Brooklyn Bridge. The year before they went out and got Kyrie and Durant, the Nets were a fun playoff-level team that looked to be headed in the right direction with a lot of young talent.
And looked a lot like this team.
Right. And when they go out and they get a couple of superstars, they blow it up, trade away all their young talent, and where are they 3 years later? Starting all over again.
Yep,
So
rebuilding.
all right, let's take we got about 15 minutes. Let's go to the NFL. Things going on there. I just have to bring this up to you because I was getting ready to go on the air. I saw something out of Cleveland. They're already talking about having to get rid of Garrett and Chubb this year because they think that the Browns will struggle. I mean, they have not even started camp yet, and they're starting to talk about trading their best defensive lineman and there's at least their second best offensive player if you want to give Watson number one.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing is Deshaun Watson. I mean that's this team could be very, very good and could go on a deep playoff run or they could be very bad depending on what Deshaun Watson looks like and whether or not he looks like Deshaun Watson from last year or whether he looks like Deshaun Watson from 2020. Right. 3 years ago. So, I don't think it's going to be either of those. I think it's going to be something in between. But let's be honest, man, on paper, this team is as good as just about any team's roster. I mean, I it's hard for me to say that with a straight face that the Browns have an unbelievable roster, but they really do. Wide receiver group is solid. Running backs, very good. I wish they'd kept Kareem Hunt, but they didn't. They improved their pass rush. By bringing over Zadarius Smith. Secondary is very well built and has a lot of depth and talent in it. Offensive line is a good group. I mean, there's no holes in this roster. So, the only problem is where is this quarterback at, and also the division. This is one of the toughest divisions. These four teams are going to kick the crap out of each other, and they play 17 games now, so there's no way that any of these guys stay healthy for the whole season.
Well, I think coming out of that, if you get 10 wins, you have a leg up on winning that division.
I don't think it'd be much 10 wins. 10 wins is going to win that division, maybe 11, but I think probably 10 games. If you can win 10 and split, go 3-3 in your division games, and then pick up 7 more wins and have a total of 10, I think you probably win that division. When you look at
we're coming up on camp fast, and the Giants still have not got Saquon Barkley under wraps. Doesn't look like they're moving any closer. I think they gave him a fair offer. It's hard. I've been a Saquon Barkley proponent. I hated the way that everybody made it into the worst draft choice of all time. I understand that the running back position is devalued. I understand if you get them, you're gonna have like a 3 to 7 year window where they might be very productive. 7 is the outlier. Mostly it's going to be 3 to 5. But, in all but that, in 3 of his years, of his 5 years so far, he's been very productive. And I don't see a replacement for him unless they go out and get Cook.
Yeah, I mean, but they've already, he hasn't signed the franchise tag yet, but they've already placed the tag on him. So, I think he's either going to sign the tag and be on the team or, or they're going to get a long-term deal with him. They're not going to move off of him. He's not going to sit out either. I think that's ridiculous. You want to make 10 million or 0. Those were his 2 options. And I think he's going to lean towards 10 million. You can say that he's going to sit out, but I don't see him doing that. So I think he's either going to play under the tag or they're going to get a long-term deal done. He's got to understand what the market is. Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. You're an important piece to your team and you are a very good player. And I think you're going to get a little bit more than the average running back because you do a number of different things, but you're still a running back. So that's where the value is. He thinks he's going to get a Kamara and Christian McCaffrey type $16 million deal, but that's not where we're at right now in the devalued market of the running back. If he gets, if they put that $12 million offer back on the table, he should take it.
Especially when you think McCaffrey, his contract was so bad on a bad team that they had to send it, and luckily he ended up where he wanted to be. That usually doesn't happen.
No, he got very lucky, and
get to a right coach who can protect him and also help him be productive.
He's healthy now too. I mean, that was the problem with the fact that they gave him the big contract, and then they couldn't really pay. They missed on some other players and couldn't get the quarterback position figured out. And then he got dinged up, and they had all this money invested in him, and he never played. So it didn't work out very good in Carolina. But still, think back, he was a very productive player for a long time there until he got hurt.
I felt so sorry for him a couple of years ago when Darnold was first with Carolina, and they were playing against the Jets. And I think, forgive me with my memory, but I think on the first 9 plays from scrimmage, he either caught the ball or carried the ball. Because Darnold was dumping down to him. So, I mean, 9 successive plays, you're getting your ass kicked. I mean, how do you stay healthy in that situation?
Yeah, no, they were using him too much. They were running him into the ground. Like, that's why I'm shocked that Derrick Henry can even still walk, much less play the way that the Titans have run his ass into the ground. It's not fair, and I feel bad for him because he's certainly lived up to his end of the bargain.
All right, let's wait. I want to cover one more thing, and I'm going to go a little baseball here because you are at heart, well, outside of being a Tennessee guy, you're an Ohio guy. Have you been noticing the Cincinnati Reds?
I have. I always notice the Cincinnati Reds. You know me. The Reds are my favorite team. I'm a Reds fan through and through. It's just been hard the last 10, 15 years because they suck, and they get a good player, and then they send him off because they don't want to pay him. Like, the only guy we've ever paid is Joey Votto.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else got nothing. Joey Votto, we gave like $200 million to, and he's been on the team. He's like 47 years old. He's still suiting up every night. He's a great guy, good player. But like, that's the guy we chose to pay, really? Like, of all the guys that have come through there, I couldn't understand why Joey Votto was the one dude who got the cash. I don't get that. But they got tons of young players. The Reds have always had a really good farm system.
Have you seen the kid De La Cruz yet?
Oh, I've seen him plenty of times. And
did you see yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
The steals? That had to be one of the most amazing sequences I've ever seen on a baseball. If every baseball game had that kind of a play in the middle of it, tons of people would be watching baseball.
Well, he's making baseball fun to watch.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it is he's just such an unbelievable athlete that it's fun to watch to see what he'll do. His strikeouts are scaring me a little bit. He's got 39 strikeouts, which is kind of high for the amount of at bats that he has. I think he's had like 126 at bats and he's struck out 40 times. So that's a lot. But he can do everything. He can steal bases. He's batting 325.
Yeah.
He's got good slugging. He can hit home runs. He's got 4 home runs. He's got 16 RBIs. He's got 9 doubles. This guy, he's the 5-tool player, man. He's unreal. And the other night where Dave Martinez tried to call him out saying his bat was juiced, and then the next play they took his bat away from him and went and examined it, and the umpire crew was like, "There's nothing wrong with the bat. His bat's fine." And then he hit a home run on the next pitch, and he picked the bat up and he looked at it and he like started going threw the bat down, and Dave Martinez was all mad and was like, "There's no place in the game for this." And I was like, "Yeah, that's why the game sucks. That's why the game sucks, because there is a place for it. That's what people want to see. Some personality."
Exactly, and he brings joy to the game. I mean, he's built like a power forward, not in power forward, but a small forward in the NBA. He played shortstop, and I mean, at a high athletic level. And I mean, anybody who hasn't tuned in to watch him yet better tune in to watch him, because
he's played some third base too.
Yeah.
And he's played 19 games at third base, and he's played like 12 games at shortstop. And this is a guy who can play in the field. He can hit. He's 6'5", 200 pounds. He's kind of lanky. He's from the Dominican Republic. He's he kind of reminds me of the hype when we got the Cuban Missile, when we got Mr. Aroldis Chapman from Cuba. It's kind of reminds me of that, just because it's a big time talent who's bursting onto the scene. But he's fun to watch. And the rest of these guys, it's not just him, man. The rest of these guys are playing well. Spencer Steer, Jonathan India, Matt McClain. Jake Fraley, Tyler Stevenson, Joey Votto. That lot of good young players on this roster.
And they have a really good chance to take that division because St. Louis is on the downside. Chicago looks like they're lost. I mean, Milwaukee and them should be battling it throughout the second half. So it should be an exciting, and it'd be good to see, the Reds back on top. Because I remember when I was growing up when they had the Big Red Machine. And I mean, it's a good baseball town. It's a good sports town. To have the Bengals and have the Reds back, both being competitive. I see Joe Burrow putting out messages after what De La Cruz did yesterday. And that's going to sell, that's going to sell the fans.
Yeah, well, it is a big-time sports town. And I don't know if you've ever been to opening day in Cincinnati in April, but they shut down the entire city. And there's thousands and thousands, not just people going to the game. There's people that just hang out, and they have a parade, and they have just thousands and thousands of people walking around downtown enjoying it. And this team's 50-41, man. They're playing really good baseball, and can they compete with Atlanta? I'm not sure, but they're certainly doing really well. They've won 7 out of the last 10. And they're playing really, really good baseball, and then they're fun to watch.
Yeah, they are. Atlanta's a little bit ahead of them right now because the players have been around a little bit longer, but they're not that far behind. They're not that far behind, and you never know. I don't know who owns Cincinnati now. I don't know if they got some real money behind them that maybe they'll spend a little. I hear the park out there is phenomenal to go to. I mean,
Great American Ballpark's a fun place to watch a game, but the last few years it's always empty.
Yeah,
nobody goes, especially past July or August, because they're out of the race, and so you can go get a ticket for free or $5 because it's just not a big draw when they're no good. But you get a winning team back there, man. Trust me, I started watching baseball and started to love baseball and really played it and was into it and collected baseball cards and everything in 1989, 1990, when they had Chris Sabo and Eric Davis and Paul O'Neill and Barry Larkin and the Nasty Boys and Tom Browning and Jose Rijo. And that was my team, man. And I love that team more than any team that I've ever watched. And I will always have really fond memories of the 1990 Reds.
And they paid you back with a championship.
They certainly did. It was fun. It was an unbelievable year.
All right, well, we're going to pull the plug on this. Hopefully, we will be back on Thursday night. I had a little job situation where I had to stay late and help my regular job out, but hopefully we'll be back on Thursday night, and we will see you then. Go enjoy the rest of what was hopefully a great birthday weekend.
Yes, sir. And just so anyone who may be watching knows, we are going to have Cedric Houston on man coverage on the 23rd. No show next week because I've got a card show, 3-day card show at the Knoxville Expo Center. But the following week, July 23rd, we're going to have a special show with former Tennessee running back and former New York Jets star running back Cedric Houston, who will be on the show talking some football with us and talking college football.
And July 22nd, I will be with a couple of friends of mine going up to watch the Mets play at Fenway Park.
I like it.
Looking forward to that. All right, everybody have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on Thursday night.
Sounds good, buddy. Take it easy.